What's going on, Yu-Gi-Oh fans? PlotArmorCards in the house, and I will be coming to you today with my Bystial branded deck profile. Now, just something for you guys, I wanted to make a little bit of an announcement. So some of the more expensive decks, I always miss out doing deck profiles on them because I can't afford them, and so I wanted to go and I feel like I'm missing that, So I wanted to go and make this deck profile and just at least be able to share it with you online because at least then we can take a look at this deck and see its capabilities and potential and everything together. Whereas some of the other deck profiles that I'll have in person will be, for example, I got the new Ninja cards coming in, got the new Goatee stuff coming in, etc., etc. So stay tuned for those in-person deck profiles. But something that's expensive with this card being through the roof, I thought, hey, why not just try this out online, right? See how it goes. So let's go ahead and just get into it. So first of all, I like to play 3 copies of the Bystial Lubellion. Now, I for sure think this is a 3 of in this deck because its effect is, especially the second effect is what I'm going to take a look at here. You can send this card from your hand to the graveyard, add 1 Bystial monster from the deck to your hand except Bystial Lubellion. This is insane because it literally is a 1 card starter for the deck. So much reason for it to be 3, and you can kind of see why it's so expensive, right? So, and then next of all, I like to play 3 copies of Bystial Magnamut, and this card is insane. You can target 1 light or dark monster in either graveyard, banish it, and if you do special summon this card from your hand, this is a quick effect if your opponent controls a monster. So that part is pretty much similar for all of them. They basically work as like DD Crows. But its other effect is why I like it as a 3 of. You can activate this effect. During the end phase of this turn, add 1 dragon monster from your deck or graveyard to your hand, except Bystial Magnamut. So, Insane Searcher, not only does it work with all of the Bystial cards themselves, but Fallen Velvet is technically a dragon. Most of the time you don't necessarily need to search it, but it is a dragon. Plus you have stuff like Albion the Shrouded Dragon, which technically is a dragon, right? So, you do have potential to search couple other cards in this deck, but usually I like to stick to the Bystial cards specifically, unless I want to pop out the Super Poly effect of Fallen Velvet in some specific reasons. Next, I like to play 2 copies of Bystial Druid Swarm. The DD Crow effect is going to be the same. Its effect is if this card is sent from the field to the graveyard, you can target 1 special summon monster your opponent controls, send it to the graveyard. So really easy to send from the field to the graveyard. You can summon it, then go off for a fusion summon, or you can, if you want to, I haven't tried it out, but the rank 6 that just came out in Darkwing Blast, I do want to try that out at least at 1 and see how that works out. But it is really easy to get rid of some of your opponent's more pesky, annoying monsters with this card, so I do like this card. Next, I just wanted to try this off as a 1 of. I know a lot of people aren't really excited about this card specifically as compared to the other ones, but I just wanted to try it out, see what it does. If this card is sent to the graveyard, you can send 1 Bystial monster or 1 branded spell or trap from your deck to the grave. I think it is pretty decent overall. I just don't recommend playing it at more than 1, just because it does help you dump a Bystial or a branded spell trap from deck to the grave. Bystial, that has the potential to pop off more combos, and then branded, so depending on what you send, it can give your monsters a little bit of protection. So, and then for the branded cards, the Despia cards, etc., etc. Aluber at 3, I think this is pretty self-explanatory. 1 card combo with just Aluber, so. Then we got 2 copies of Fallen of Elbaz. Every fiber of my being wanted to run this at 3, but I didn't want to go overboard and run this deck at too many cards. We're already running it at 42. So, yeah. And then also I wanted to try this out just because it's a newer card. Blazing Cartesia the Virtuous. Now, I'm only running this at 1. It does work pretty well just to fusion summon and whatnot, but I think it'll work a lot better once we get the fusion summon, the fusion monster for the archetype. So when that comes out, I'll definitely be switching that in there, and then maybe I might bump this up to 2. We'll see how that goes. But then we will have to mess around, and I believe the only winged beast I have is Mary Courier, so I might have to mess around with ratios with that as well. I like to play 2 copies of Despian Tragedy. This card is really good. If this card is sent to the graveyard or banished by a card effect, you can add 1 Despia monster from your deck to your hand, except Despian Tragedy. You have no idea how many times I've started off with this, and it just helped me search this. So it's an insane card. So you can banish this card from your graveyard, then target 1 branded spell or trap in the grave, set it to your field. So really good at searching either way. So I like to play 1 copy of Dramaturge of Despia, just because it brings itself the ability to special summon, I believe. If Fusion Synchro exceeds a Link monster special summon, except during the damage step, you can target 1 Effect monster in the field negate its effects until the end of this turn. If this card is in your hand or field, use this fusion material and send to the graveyard to banish, you can special summon this card. So nice body to have on the field. 3,000 life points is nothing to laugh at. So really, really nice. I like to play one copy of Albion just to be able to guarantee that I have the biggest ability to get to some of these fusions, right? And then one copy of Maricaria. This thing comes in clutch. You'd be surprised. While you control a fusion monster that matches Fallen Velba's quick effect, you can send this card from your hand or face it with the field of the grave, negate an effect, any monster effect that your opponent would activate. Really does come in handy. One copy of Springen's Kit, and then I'm running 2 copies of Edge Imp Chain just for the combo in order to search and add Poly to my hand. Which before this was a 40 card deck, and then I was playing this out, and I was like, why isn't Fright for Patchwork working? And I was like, holy crap, I forgot to put in Edge Imp Chain. So now that's why this is a 42, because yeah, you need this combo just to be able to search, and of course Guardian Chimera is a great card. So moving forward to the spells, triple branded fusion, I think this is pretty fair. To be able to search and special summon straight from your deck, pops off, this basically enables all your combos. So it's really, really good and a must have. 3 copies of Branded Opening, you discard 1 card, then take 1 Density monster from your deck, either add it to your hand or special summon it. You're going to be going most of the time for this thing right here, which will in turn search you this thing, and then you can fuse off. So really, really good. Next, I wanted to play 1 copy of Branded Red. I'm just attached to this card, so if you feel like it's not worth playing, I can completely see that, but I think it is really good, and it does help you in a lot of cases get out your Masquerade. So and then triple Allure of Darkness. Most of the cards in this deck are all dark, so other than Bystial Rebellion, so dark. I think this thing is a light too. Yep, Blazing Cartesia. But then dark. Yeah, these are all dark, so it really, really does help. Plus, like I said earlier, some of these cards have combos when banished, so like Despian Tragedy, when it gets banished, it can search, so I really do like that in there. Triple copies of Forbidden Droplet. I think this is pretty self-explanatory. I have to pick this up in real life. This is just out of my price range right now, so I haven't been able to get it, but really, really good card. Definitely recommend you use this. 2 copies of Patchwork just for the combo to be able to search this, and 2 copies of my Poly. And then I got 2 1-ups that I'm kind of trying out, I guess. Branded Lost I really like, just because the activations of your cards and effects that includes an effect that fusion summons, a fusion monster cannot be negated. So this stops basically people from stopping my cards that need to be going off, right? So and then Branded Regain. This is more of like a newer card that I wanted to test out. If a light or dark monster is banished except during the damage step, you can target one of those monsters, place that monster on the bottom of the deck. If you do, draw 1 card. So it does give you really good draw power. And then once per turn, if your opponent normal special summons a monster, you can target 1 Bystial monster in the graveyard, special summon it. So that's pretty good. Gives you an extra body and all that. I do like this and combined with this, because then a lot of times if I have to banish something that maybe I don't want to banish right now in order to draw, I can combo it with Branded Regain, shuffle it back into the deck, and then draw an extra card. So it does work really decently in that. But main deck, about 42 cards. Ideally, I'd like to run it at 40, but I feel like with the whole poly searching engine, I think it probably will work best at 42. And then for the extra deck, I feel like there is a little bit of flexibility here. Like there are some, maybe if you'd like to add like some Link monsters, there are a decent amount of Link 4s that you could throw in here, maybe Appaloosa, etc., etc. But I wanted to focus heavily on the fusion cards because that's the way the archetype works best, right? So 2 copies of Mirror Jade, 2 copies of Lubellion, 2 copies of Albion. Now, this one I was a little bit hesitant about running at 2, just because we're not running too many light monsters. However, you can just search straight from deck with Branded Fusion, so I didn't think it was too much of a problem. Plus this into this, plus, and then you can pop off so many combos, right? If you go this to that and that to that, there's a lot of different ways to mess around with it. So I think 2 is the best, just to be able to fit around other cards and archetypes and whatnot. I think I already went through Albion. Next we got Albalenitis. Now this thing, I feel like I could probably cut this to 1, honestly. But it just takes Fallen Nova as +1 dragon monster. We are running a lot more dragons now, so that's why I wanted to bump it up to 2. And then I'm running 1 copy of Titan Clan, and then 1 copy of Brigand. I haven't used these as much, but I think they're still very useful cards, and they come in handy. 2 copies of Masquerade. This, I wanted to make sure I ran it 2, because going first, you want to summon 2 of these. It just screws your opponent over so many times. 1 copy of the Guardian Chimera. That's pretty self-explanatory. I have seen people run this at more than 1. If you'd like to run that at 2, completely believable. It's completely, it's a good thing. one copy of the Quiritus. Now, personally, every time I go against this deck in person, not necessarily the Bystial version, because I haven't been to locals since Saturday, and Bystials weren't tournament legal then. But it has screwed over a lot of my decks, so maybe this might be worth bumping up to 2. But I don't run too many recipe monsters, as you can see. Just a playset of my Jester. What do we got? This thing, and I believe that is it. So that's why I like to only run that at 1. However, it's more than likely you're going to have a way to search Aluber, or you're going to have one of these in your hand. So if you'd like to bump it up at 2, it's believable. And then the Dark Charmer Gloomy. So just because. And then moving forward for the side deck, this isn't like an official side deck. This is more of like options of, hey, you guys can use this, or you guys can use this, and then you can form some opinions for yourself. First of all, Borderlord Furious Dragon. It just takes 2 dark dragon monsters, and quick effect, you can target 1 monster you control, 1 card your opponent controls, destroy them. It does have potential to get around some of the more annoying cards, and then some of your fusion monsters, if they get destroyed, they do have some nice effects at the end of the turn, so it might be worth taking advantage of that. Super Polys are really, really good, especially in this deck, so I would definitely recommend that you side deck this. This is just more of suggestions. And since you're running Super Polys, I threw in a Garura just because you can throw in not just Garura, but you got like Dragostapelia, etc., all these Super Poly targets and whatnot. They are really, really good and really usable. Branded Banishment. This card I feel like is like the one card I really wanted to add that I missed out on. You can target 1 Despia monster or 1 level 8 or higher fusion monster in your graveyard, special summon it, then apply this effect. Fusion summon 1 level 8 or higher fusion monster from your extra deck by banishing fusion materials listed from it on either field. Must have, I would say. I just didn't want to run it at 43, so if there's something I switch out for it, I might just switch out this thing. I do like this at 1, honestly, but since I'm building such a tight deck, I might switch that out and include Branded Banishment. I do like that card. I threw in Ash Blossom as just like symbolism. This is more like, you know, you could put in whatever your favorite hand trap is. Ideally, these days, you probably want to put in DD Crow, but I feel like these do the job. But DD Crow will cover anything that's not light and dark, so I can completely see that being in there. And then we got cards like Branded Beast. Once per turn during the main phase, if you control a Bystial monster, you contribute 1 dragon monster and target 1 card your opponent controls, destroy it. During the end phase, you can target 1 branded continuous spell trap in your graveyard, place it face up on your field. So, pretty good, I would say. And then moving forward, Goes in Match. This is something I wanted to try out, but I didn't get around to it necessarily, just because pretty much all of his deck is darks, even the extra deck. There are a couple exceptions here, like Lubellion, but most of these cards are all darks, as you can see. And that has the potential to just screw over your opponent pretty decently, I'd say. So that's not something I've tried again, but something maybe that may be worth checking out. Branded and High Spirits. Everyone's getting really hyped about this card, so I think it's a must-have for a mention at least. And then I have seen some builds that do run this, so definitely worth mentioning, I'd say. Nadir Servant. You can send a fusion monster from your extra deck to the graveyard, add 1 Dogmatica monster or Fallen of Albaz from your deck or graveyard to your hand that has attack less than equal to the sent monster. And of course, if you're going to be running Nadir Servant, I'd definitely recommend you run like Entis and some cards that would benefit you from dumping them from the extra deck, right? So Harpy's Feather Duster, this is more of just like spell trap removal in general. People are playing Mystic Mine heavy decks these days, so spell and trap removal I would definitely recommend that you have. Especially against cards like, or decks rather, sorry, like the Runic cards. Those cards can be really, really annoying. And then we got ourselves like Artifact Scythe. You do have potential Scythe lock and whatnot, so if that's something you want to go for, then yeah, you can put that combo in there. Overall, though, I'd say this is a pretty solid deck. The one weakness I'd say with these cards is if it's not a light and dark heavy deck, then these really don't do too much to it, to your opponent specifically. For example, like Floowandereeze, this has the potential to not be as good as advertised, but to be fair, you could still banish your own cards. It's just you don't have the potential to annoy your opponent as much, right? And plus Floowandereeze, they want their cards banished anyway, so I don't know if it's the best thing to banish Floowandereeze cards, right? So just something to think about, guys. Just something to think about. But anyways, guys, this is PlotArmorCards signing out for the day. If you like what you see, don't hesitate to like, comment, and subscribe. And of course, any suggestions for improvements of the deck, the extra deck, the side deck, anything else you'd like to see, I'd love to hear about it in the comments down below. But this is PlotArmorCards signing out for the day, and we will see you in the next video.